Welcome to Slow News Day with Kevin Clark. I am Kevin Clark.
Yeah.
We're back. The first Slow News Day we've done in Los Angeles in what? 2.5 years? New building, same commitment to print newspapers. Having said that, we went to 5 stores and we couldn't find a print newspaper. So, give me a skill you've improved on over the course of your career that maybe wasn't a strength and now is a strength.
Podcast. I was really bad when I started.
All right, Pierre Gasly, AlphaTauri driver, F1 star. He's got probably the best background in the history of this show. He's in the south of France right now. He had a wedding in the middle of this week. What's going on, Pierre?
Yeah, I had the wedding of one of my best friends. It's actually the first wedding of one of my friends, which is kind of scary. I feel like I'm in the middle of in a sort of transition into my life. It was great. It was fantastic. And then now I'm spending a bit of off time with my family.
You're already traveling every single week for something, and now you're in your when you get into your late 20s, Pierre, and when you get there, you will understand everybody in your life is getting married. You're going to be on the road constantly, dude. You're going to be you're going to double your travel somehow.
Yeah, I could see that coming, and I'm 26 now, so I know it's a start of a new life. I'm far away from the wedding, I'm still enjoying my life, and it's all good for me. But yeah, I mean it's quite a life. Obviously, being F1 driver, you're always on the road. Feels like F1 driver life is a bit a vagabond life, always traveling around. But I do love it. So,
what's your number one travel tip for jet lag, for any of that stuff?
Well, never unpack your luggage. Just clean and then straight back in the luggage. I don't have time to put anything in the wardrobe. People stress a lot about traveling. I just do not care. I just need to go from A to B, and whatever happens there, my brain is off. I just give the passport, go through security, and just need to go with the flow. And obviously, it's tiring. I had time since I'm 13 years old to get used to that life. So it does feel normal, but it's quite a hectic life.
Everybody coming into this season was talking about the regulation changes, and we've seen a lot of differences. What's the biggest thing that surprised you about this generation of cars, Pierre, just through the first half of this season?
In terms of driving, it's very similar. The only thing I would say which has changed quite drastically is this purposing.
Yes.
So we see the cars like down the straight, and it does feel weird, driving 200 and in miles is probably like 220 miles an hour. And then you're just jumping like a kangaroo inside the F1 car. It doesn't feel nice at all. So the spine is going through quite a rough time this year, a lot of physio session. But in terms of driving, it's still the same.
So you had dinner with Michael Jordan. I was at your press conference in Miami. It's all anybody wanted to talk about. How did that even
You can see the smile on my face. You can see the smile on my face. I don't think there was anything that I could have liked more than that. I mean, it was so inspiring. I had a new sponsor at the start of the year, who is business partner with him, Raj Mantena, and I did tell him, I have a massive poster of Michael in my driver room, which I always look at before to jump in the car. It was like, it's no joke. If this happens, I'll be the happiest guy in the world. And yeah, it did happen. I had dinner with MJ just before the Miami Grand Prix, 3 hours dinner. And it was just incredible to exchange with him about his career, mentality, the leadership that he had and still has, how competitive he is. And it was just a magical moment.
You said then that you were surprised, or not surprised, but you were impressed with how much he knew about Formula One. What was the thing he said to you about F1 that most impressed you about his knowledge?
Well, he knew all the drivers' name, even the drivers that finished last, which it's not usually the one that you hear always on TV. You always hear about the winners. He did mention a couple of names, and I was like, you're definitely a big fan if you know these guys. We talked about my career. We had a couple of tips on, negotiations and how to handle contracts, etc. So it was just great to hear all his experience and his knowledge.
Did you use those negotiations? The tips?
I think I'll bring him for my next meeting with for my future contract. I'll probably bring him in the room.
One thing about being an F1 driver, you have to do workouts. I don't think the common fan really understands how intense they can be. What's the number one workout, drill, thing you have to do, whether it's your neck or whatever it has to be? What's the number one hardest thing you have to do in your workout regimen?
I got to work on my neck every single day. and people do look at me with a weird look in the room when I start to put bands around my neck and pull weights with my neck, and they're like, "What is this guy doing?" Like, that's clearly not something you see very often in the gym. It's a very intense workout, and probably, as you said, way more intense than people who think of. I just finished my workout like 2 hours ago. I went in the gym 2 hours, so it's 6 days a week. Some days 2 sessions. Need to do a lot of cardio because the races are extremely long, 1.5 hours, 2 hours, and we lose up to 3 kilos during a race. A lot of people get jealous of that because
I was gonna say I could do an F1 race right now, drop a couple kilos.
Yeah. Especially after summer, it works out perfectly. But no, it's very
with wedding season, Pierre. You can just pig out and then just go do a couple races. You'll be fine. France is next on the calendar. It's a home race for you. Tell me about that track, what we need to know going into that week.
Well, it's the best track of the calendar because I'm French and this is in France. Well, it's actually not. I'm sad to say that, but I'm being honest, it's a very, a lot of runoff areas.
Yeah.
So it's the opposite of Monaco, for example. Like you can drive as crazy as you want. You'll run off the track. You can come back. So it does bring some opportunities for racing, being side by side. And even if you are pushed off the track, you can always come back to the next corner. And it does bring some good racing. There is this very famous corner called Le Bossé, which is a 180 corner at 140 miles an hour. So your neck, especially this side, that's why I'm working a lot now these days, because next race is going to be quite tough for a tough one. It's in France. It's a special one for me. Probably the last one in France because I don't think, not sure yet whether it's going to be on the calendar next season. A lot of French people are going to be there, and it's obviously gonna feel pretty special.
I wanted to ask about the calendar changes because there's a lot of concern, I guess, from old school F1 fans about places like Spa, places like Monaco, frankly, that there have been discussions about. How do you feel about the new markets versus the old ones? I mean, Vegas is coming in, obviously. There's going to be 3 American races. How do you view how you want the future of the F1 schedule to look like, Pierre?
Personally, I want to keep like that real DNA that we got from F1 from the past with this iconic racetrack. Monaco is clearly one of them, probably the most known around the world. Spa is my favorite track on the calendar. Is as a driver, I think it's great just to see the popularity and the exposure that Formula One is getting now these days, thanks to Netflix and thanks to what the organization is doing. We had Miami this year, which was insane. American people starts to really love Formula One, which is great to see because a couple years ago still when I said I was a Formula One driver, nobody had any idea of what it was. And they all thought I was a NASCAR driver or something. Next year we have Vegas, which is going to be, I think, an incredible sport event. I think it's important to get this new location, have a huge potential in terms of business and in terms of show, but it's important also to keep the old ones, which are very iconic, like the one we mentioned in Monaco and Spa.
Lightning round questions. First one, if you could take any scene out of Drive to Survive ever, out of the entire thing featuring you, is there anything you would take out?
I don't like this question. I'm not the type of guy to be like
If you could change one thing about F1, what would it be?
I will make all the cars way similar in terms of performance. I'll just bring all the pack closer together. Like you either give the same Red Bull to all the 20 guys, just change the logo on the front and then put Ferrari, Mercedes, but just like give a much closer car in terms of performance.
Give me a skill you've improved on over the course of your career that maybe wasn't a strength and now is a strength.
Podcast. I was really bad when I started. Media is a big part of our life now, and it gets, with the years, you get a bit more comfortable, but I wasn't the kind of guy to be like all out on the screen. And even when you see yourself on Netflix, first time it's kind of weird, and then it's still weird. I must say, I still admit when I see myself on Netflix, I'm like, this is wrong. But
so we do a thing called Club Kevin, which is your favorite person in the world right now. Could be a TV person that a TV show that you're watching, movie you just saw, doesn't matter. Somebody you just read about in the newspaper, doesn't matter. We induct this person.
Will Smith. I love Will Smith.
Even after the slap?
Well, I must say the charisma that guy has, like since I'm a kid, I just really liked Will Smith, and to me, he's got like a talent for acting, which is just outstanding. So doesn't mean I agree with everything that he does, but I'm purely talking as an actor, and skills is outstanding.
Amazing. All right, well, Dinner with Will Smith is next after MJ. Pierre Gasly, thank you so much for coming on Slow News Day, bud.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.